Well, I've been doing music since I was 9. So I was a pianist at the age of 9, and I was playing in churches probably like around 9, 10. So I was always into music. So just going into music production, I started a little rap group with a couple of friends of mine in Louisiana. It was called 4D. And when we started that group, that's when I started to get into music production because I was one of the only people that can play keys and different stuff like that. It was one other guy named Eric that we used to play and produce tracks also, but I was the better out of the two. And once I made my first track, I was in love with it. I never stopped. Now, I think I had to been like about 19, 20 then. So, it's just been straight. Music has been part of my life since I was a kid, and it carried all the way through adulthood. That's all I've been doing all this time. I started getting into computer-based programs in 2002. That's when I did my first record that I did on a program was Digital Performer, and it was a song called Get Throw that I produced for Bun B. That was one of my first records that I did on a computer. And I knew then people thought I was crazy because I had an SC1, a Triton, JP800, 1080, and a couple other things. I had vintage keys, all of that shit. I had all of the gear. I sold all of that stuff. And I downsized to a small 13-inch computer. And everybody around me thought I was crazy when I did it, but I already knew where it was going. And now where it's at, you have so many tools. You got, like I'm doing sample packs now. You have sample packs, MIDI packs, all of this stuff now. So you don't have to be a musician to make a track now. Is if you can hold a rhythm and you know how to make a rhythm and you can put things together, everything's at your fingertips now. So all the music theory stuff that I know, which I still have an advantage with it, don't get me wrong, but a guy can spend $29 and hit one key and do some chords that takes me maybe 7 to 9 fingers to do with one button. So it's about the knowledge base of knowing how to get around different things and knowing what programs to use. Like I was looking at, I was doing some research because I was working on some new tracks and I'd been listening to Kendrick Lamar, and the song he got, All Right, is some jazz singing in it. And I swear to God, it was a sample. And I wanted to see who sung the sample because I wanted to listen to some records that they did, to kind of get a vibe. And I went to search for the sample, and it wasn't a sample. It was a program. It was Omnisphere. It was a patch that somebody played keys on. They played chords, and they sold the MIDI chords and all of that stuff. And the producer that produced All Right just sampled the chords that they played. It wasn't even a sample. I was like, wow, this wasn't even a sample? I found the patch. I started playing around and doing different things with it. But that's just one example. So it's all about being creativity. Now it's just about your creativity that's going to thrust you forward. The creativity that you have. It's not about skill set when it comes to playing keys and all that kind of stuff. Now it's a whole different ballgame. It was amazing, and I missed him, dude. I missed him, dude, because he understood. Nipsey went through a very long journey and a very long, extensive process that a lot of artists would not have been able to contain that composure in. And I've seen it because I've lost a couple of artists to that, to the process, because they didn't trust it. They was frustrated with it. It wasn't moving too fast enough. Just a whole lot of things. And I just feel like he really understood the process. He understood the creative process of it too, and the importance of how good the music needed to be. And he was able to take a chance on prolonging his debut album because of that. And he understood what branding was, so he concentrated on his brand. And we used to just talk all the time. And Nip was real slow. He was real slow at putting records together. He used to annoy the shit out of me because he'd call me like, "Hey man, I need you to come out to Atlanta. I'm getting ready to go to Atlanta. I want you to meet me out there. We're gonna work." And then I don't hear from him anymore. So I actually got frustrated when I was like, "Man, I'm not sending any more tracks to Nip. Nip keep telling me he's gonna work. I'm waiting. Ain't nothing happening." So one day he called me out of the blue. He said, "Hey, Ark." I said, "What's going on, nephew?" He said, "Man, I'm wrapping up this Victory Lap album, and I'm not finna put this album out without you on it." So he's like, I need another Blue Laces record, and I want you to use the same sample. He's telling me I want you to use the same sample. So I was like, cool, I'll do it. It's nothing. I said, let me get the old one out of my head and give me a day, and I'm gonna go in the studio and I'm gonna do it. So the next day, I woke up, I went in the studio, and I made the track. It took me like 10, 15 minutes. And I made the track and I sent it over to him. He's sending me these fire emojis. And granted, I'm thinking, okay, all right, Nip, here we go. Because it takes him days to do records. The next day, he emailed me with the record done. I was like, whoa, you finished it? Now, when I played it, I was like, oh yeah, this is on some whole. I see why he finished it in a day, because just the vibe and the feeling of what he was saying was incredible. So it was just we were actually getting ready to do Blue Laces 3. I have the track that he picked, and I'm actually working with his estate and his people now to try to figure out how we're going to complete it. But he was just so in tune with his craft, and he understood things, and that's why a lot of people that started with Nip are still with him, and there's a few that wasn't. It's just a disheartening situation when you have a talent like that and you see people that have talent and they don't follow through with the process because they're so ready to be that artist or be on top or be in the limelight or whatever reason it is. If you don't take time to really nurture your craft, the longevity won't be there. I think Nipsey was in tune with himself, and there was no time constraints on him doing what he needed to do. And that's why he was able to make such a great project, and he was able to leave a legacy that he left because he was really taking his time to do everything at the highest point that he can do it. If it was developing properties in his neighborhood, if it was speaking to somebody, if it was just whatever opportunities that he tried to do, he did it at the top of his ability. And that's all I be trying to teach people that are around me. Let's do things at the top of our ability, because if we do, then the success level is going to be much higher than we expect it to be.